Hi everyone, this is Soumya Paul, a mentor at CodeCardos and a software developer at Amazon. And today's video is not a continuation of our system design series or a continuation of our DSA series. But today I saw a very fun, interesting happening, a fun, interesting update in HTTP, which I thought I'll share with everyone. Now, we all have used HTTP, isn't it? Every developer has used HTTP protocol, and there are a lot of requests that we use in HTTP. For example, the GET request, the POST request, the PUT request, the DELETE request, and so on, isn't it? Till now, we used GET to what? To fetch some information, isn't it? GET was used to fetch some information from the server, and server will be getting that information from the database or from a cache or wherever it has that information. So it was a very common convention that GET requests are used to fetch some information. But there was a problem. What was the problem? There are actually a few problems. So the first problem is that what if you have to send some information in the request in order to get some information from the server? हो ही सकता है, isn't it? Suppose if you want some information from the server, for example, you want the details about a particular customer. So you have to send the customer's ID or the customer's email or the customer's name or the customer's mobile number, some unique identifier about the customer, isn't it? Now, how do we do that? So in GET requests, we sent information by embedding them in the request, isn't it? By embedding them in the request. Now, what did we call them? Any guesses? We called them query params. Okay. So you guys have seen this in the URL, I mean, not the request, in the URL. So suppose you have some URL and then I have to pass on the user ID. I can say something like user ID is equal to 123. Suppose you want to send some more information, you can say and whatever key is equal to that value. Okay, this is what we used to do. Now, there are some problems here. For example, if there is too much information, then the URL will become too lengthy, and URLs do have a limit. Search up what is the limit of a URL. It becomes too much if there is too much information to send in the request itself. And if we append all of them in the URL, then it will become very lengthy. Also, it won't look nice. Also, this is the first problem. The second problem is what if there is some sensitive information? What if there is some sensitive information? Okay, what if there is some sensitive information? What about then? Because if there is some sensitive information, we cannot append it in the URL itself. It will be very unsecure. So there were these problems. Now you might be saying, hey, why not use a post? Why not use a post? Because in post you can use in post API, what you can do? You can send data in request body. Isn't it? So you might be saying, hey, if you have to send some data to the server and that is some big chunky data, you can make a post API call, a post request, and you can send the request body in a post request. But again, this is wrong. Why? Because we should not use post to fetch data. We should not use post to fetch data, isn't it? We should not use post to fetch data. So that is a problem. We should be using GET requests only. But there was no way to send chunky data in GET requests. And also another problem is that GET requests are cached. Post requests are not cached. post requests are not cached by the browser, I'm saying. Are not cached by the browser. Okay. So this is again another problem. So what are the problems? If you use get request, it is getting cached, which is good, but you cannot send a big amount of data. You can send a big amount of data in post, but you cannot cache it. The browser doesn't cache it. The browser doesn't cache it. And also, it should not be used to fetch data. So that is why something came which is called as query. Now we have something called as query requests. Bingo. A fifth type of a request, which is called as query request. So query takes the best of both worlds. What does it take? It takes the best of both worlds. Okay. So query takes the best of both the worlds. What do you mean the best of both the worlds? Now query is a new type of a request which is used to fetch information. Fetch information just like get. Fetch information just like get. Okay. But does it solve the problem that what if I have to send some data, some chunky data? Yes, it does. Query supports request body. Query now supports request body. So now you have a request type which can be used to fetch information and also supports request body. And even better, this is also cached by the browser. This is also cached by the browser. Okay. This is also cached by the browser. So the best of both the worlds, all three perfect scenarios. So query is a new update from HTTP, and honestly in the last 10 years this is one of the most craziest update that HTTP has come up with. It is exactly doing what get does, but it solves the problem of sending chunky data in the request itself, because now query is something exactly what get is, but it supports request body. So if someone says what is query, query is nothing but get plus request body. This is exactly what query is. Okay. So I hope this was an interesting fact that you all got to know. And I'll see you all in the next video, which again will be a continuation of our system design or our DSA series. And if you want to prepare for Mang companies or other top-notch product-based companies directly from Mang developers with more than 5 years of experience, then do join Code Cardos.